This week on Q&A, our guest is Christopher Hitchens, contributing editor to the Atlantic Monthly and columnist for Vanity Fair. Mr. Hitchens is the author of over a dozen books. His most recent is his memoir, Hitch 22. Last summer, Mr. Hitchens was diagnosed with cancer. He joins us from his home in northwest Washington, D.C.
Christopher Hitchens, I just checked and I've interviewed you 20 times since 1983, and I must say this is one of the hardest.
Well,
because you haven't been well.
Not very, no.
What's the current status of your cancer?
I have a tumor in my esophagus, which has metastasized as they spread to my lymph nodes. And I'm afraid that I'm not completely sure to part of my lung. And it's at stage 4. And the thing to note about stage 4 is that there is no stage 5. So it concentrates the mind a bit. But I have some wonderful oncologists working with me, and we're on the verge of a whole number of new treatments, some of which may apply to me. The chemotherapy is holding it at bay. I apologize that my voice is a bit husky today. But that's the situation. So I have to practice staying alive and preparing to die at the same time, which, as my memoir says, is actually what one has to do all the time. As a matter of fact, I mean, you're never more than a breath away. But it's a bit more vivid to me now, sort of doctors in the morning and lawyers in the afternoon.
Why did you decide to take us through that journey in your writing in Vanity Fair?
Well, I was wondering whether I wanted to or not, and I didn't want to make a parade of my condition. But I was very intelligently pressed to do it by my editor, Graydon Carter, at Vanity Fair. And I tried to do it in such a way as it wasn't a parade of my feelings or a sort of yellow ribbon type journalism. And I've been told that some people have been comforted by it a bit, or identified with it to some degree. If you have a lemon, make lemonade would be the other explanation. Better than staring at the wall. It is a great subject. Everyone has to do this at one point or another. Either survive or die of something like this. It's one thing one is certainly born to do. So, as an extension of the memoir I published when I was hit with it, I thought, well, I should keep up the narrative, because this is very much a part of my life.
How's your life?
And I should add, because of these experimental treatments, I've had my genome sequenced, for example. I'm very unique in this way, I'm very lucky. I'm able to write about some really quite exciting new developments in the field of oncology, which I hope will shortly become more available to more people. It's a rather tantalizing time to have cancer, this time for me, someone of my age, because there are treatments that I can see that are just out of my reach, probably, which is both encouraging and annoying, if you like. And there are others that are probably just within it. My constitution is very good. All my other vital signs are excellent. Everything from my liver to my blood pressure is excellent. Superb, in fact. Unjustly so, a lot of my friends would say. But if I can hang on, there are quite a few expedients I can and intend to try.
But you just had your gallbladder out, and that had nothing to do with...
Oh, well, no, I had a very bad episode a couple of weeks ago. I crashed, as my doctor, normally very admirably diffident guy, said. I mean, I had a meltdown in my bone marrow. That can happen with chemotherapy. I had a crisis with white and blood cells at the same time as my gallbladder went rancid, and I was in terrible pain. I thought I had a burst appendix. So I was really flat out. But I've now lost the gallbladder, and I've gained some blood transfusion. So I'm back, hanging on.
Broad question, but what has this done to the old head?
Well, the worst of the initial treatments was what's called chemo brain in the trade, where you feel fogged in the head, and you barely even want to read, let alone write. And that terrified me very much, because I thought if I can't do that, well, my raison d'etre would in a way have gone in the literal sense. I wouldn't have a very persuasive reason to live, and I didn't want to give in to despair. But it turns out the chemo brain is transitory, I mean, I still suffer from terrible exhaustion. I've got it now, physically, but I'm quite lucid, at least in my own opinion. I could write a column today if I was lucky, if I had some strong coffee. I can certainly read and converse, but if anything was to spread in that direction, I mean, then I probably would feel that was the end.
What has been the reaction from other people to your condition? Because you know a ton of people.
Yeah. And I'm also known to quite a large number of people now. And because I had to cancel a book tour, just as it was beginning, a rather lavish book tour, back in the summer, I couldn't just do a fade and go into treatment. I had to make a statement, as if I was some kind of public figure, about why I couldn't keep these appointments. And people had gone to a lot of trouble. I had to say something. So it became, overnight, a sort of news item. I guess it must have been a slow week. And I imagine, partly because of my opinions about the supernatural and the religious life, I also got a lot of attention because people thought, well, surely now will be the time for me to make a reconsideration, withdraw from the principles of a lifetime, make my peace with some church or other. And there was a lot of public talk about that. There was a day of prayer for me, a national day of prayer, which I took kindly. I thought it was at least a sort of gesture of solidarity. But that was, by the way, prayer in my favor. There were other people who lobbied the divine in the opposite direction, presuming to instruct him in either case seems to me a bit presumptuous, but people can't seem to help that. And I've had an amazing number of letters from people. I still get them, handwritten ones to the house, as well as emails to my office in New York, saying really the nicest things, most of them, not all, and trying to assure me that in their minds my life hasn't been a waste of time, even if it ends prematurely. I'm 62 in April, if I make it that far. And believe me, that's been encouraging. I've learned something from it, which is of course, like most of the things one knows that are important, already known to me, but I really know it now. Never put off writing a letter to someone who's in distress. It's always very much appreciated. And I'm not asking for more people to write to me, but if they have someone in mind or someone known to them, they haven't quite got around to it yet, I'd urge them to do it. It's been a terrific help to me, I must say. And I'm not a particularly, what's the word, vulnerable person in that way, not that easily stirred, but this has been very, very moving for me and very confirming.
Has any of your, at least professional enemies, come to you during this time? And if they have, what did they say to you?